Hello, everybody. We are live, and it's so excited to be here today. Thank you, everyone, to joining in and tuning in to another episode of the Growth Invitation, where I'm committed to bringing powerful females from all around the world to share their stories and challenges as an invitation and inspiration to you all, so that you know that whatever you've experienced, whoever you are, wherever you are, you never ever need to be alone, and you can manifest your dreams. So today we have the amazing Kiara Luna with us. Hi, Kiara.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here with all of you today. Thank you for inviting me. It's my honor being here with you.
Yes, I'm so excited. And, myself and Kiara have been on the same course with Lisa Nichols. We're like on our way to graduation. So we're super excited about it. And guess what? Me and Kiara have never met in person, but that is about to change next week.
For real. Oh my goodness, that is true. It's true. Like I truly feel like I've met you in person though. It's so funny.
No.
Like I truly feel like the connection, right? Like I feel like I've met you plenty of times in person. So insane. But I'm excited
Yeah.
to actually feel you next
And
week.
like hug and like, hey, and yes, absolutely. So today, we want to talk about you and your story, and love for you to share with the audience something that actually happened to you when you were younger.
Mm,
And when I read the description, I was like, really?
yeah.
So I would love for you to share in your own words, a little bit about that, but also, just to give a little bit of context to the audience, who are you and what do you do? And then we can lead on to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the space to do so. So, what many people may know about me is that I am a successful run a mental health successful practice. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, a speaker, an author, all of the things, a mom, right? But what many don't know is that I got pregnant at 18 years old by a man who that I just had recently met, right? A couple of months ago. And that right there was definitely like when you guys take like a cold shower like unexpectedly, like even when you expect a cold shower it still shocks your body. That's what that felt for me, because even though there was always a deep desire that I had to be a mom, I didn't expect it to be in the way that it happened, right? And also my family, right? I grew up in with a Dominican culture, and in my family dynamic that was looked down upon, right? You getting pregnant. I was in college, right? I was going through the making the right path, making the right decisions. So when that happened, that's looked at as a bad decision, right? So it's when me as an 18-year-old girl had to really kind of like decide, make grown up decisions about how I wanted to continue to live my life, about the choices that I needed to make. And even though, looking back, even though it was a really challenging time for me because I was afraid of what my future was going to look like, what people had to say, I really had to honor what I wanted to do. And it was a shift that I honestly, when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, like, how did I have so much wisdom? Let me stop. How did I have so much
Well
wisdom?
done to you. But like, just thinking back, like the first question in my head was, you just met the guy. Like, were you in love with him? Were you guys in love? Was
Yeah.
there a plan? Like, was it planned? Like,
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It wasn't planned. I was in love with him. So my story with my now husband, he's my husband, and we have two beautiful children. It's one of the best loving stories that I can ever like. And I don't know if I'm just biased because it's my story, but I really truly feel that, and I feel that the connection that we felt from the moment we met was very unmatched and very unique. To the point where I feel like I don't, I'm a believer that things don't happen to me. I believe that things happen for me. And when I became pregnant at 18, of course, with that mind, but the 18-year-old girl mindset, I'm like, oh my goodness, like what is happening? I never envisioned this for myself. At the same time, as time was passing, I was like, you know what? But this is good for me, because whatever plans I had perhaps were not the plans that were meant for me. Maybe God had something differently for me. I'm a believer. I don't impose my beliefs onto other people, of course. But for me, I believe in God, and I believe that sometimes when we're going through a path that is not what we're destined to be, or how we what we're meant to serve here or do here in this world, that God is going to shift you with something, interrupt you, so this way you can go back to what your real purpose in this life is. And I feel that me having my son at 18 was really just that, because the path that I
Mhm.
was going to was probably going to take me longer to get to where I am today. And I feel like God was like, no, 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 let's put this in here so this way you can go back on track on what you really are meant here for. And
That.
and yeah, and then, just to kind of wrap up the story there, having this child by a man that I just had met, right, a few months ago, was one of the scariest things, because I didn't know whether he wanted to be in the picture or not be in the picture. So I just remember having a really vulnerable and honest conversation with him. And this is coming from a girl who didn't also grow up in an environment, a healthy family dynamic, right? In a dynamic where you saw people having vulnerable conversations, or taking accountability, or setting boundaries. Like, those were not the things I was exposed to, but I was very adamant that I wanted to do differently for me, for the world that I was living in, and also for the child that I was going to bring into the world. So I knew from the get-go, the minute that I was pregnant, I'm keeping this baby, I'm having this baby. So that was never a doubt for me. But what's a doubt was whether he wanted to be in the picture or not, because, again, this is so a shock. So I recall having this conversation with him and asking him, hey, like, this is my plan. How do you feel about it? Like, I'm truly open to whatever it is you want to do and the way that you may want to do it. And that's when he was like, yeah, no, like, we're having this, we're doing this together. Like, of course, like, I love you and we want to do this together. So to me, having that experience at such an early age was such a shift for me, and believing in me and trusting me again, and knowing that I can set boundaries, but also know that I can be chosen. I think that I also struggled with that growing up. Like, I'm never chosen, or, I have to do more for people to see me. And so it was always those little negative thoughts. And me having that experience at such an early age helped me navigate it a little bit quicker, I would say. A lot of people feel like they have to heal. And I say it in quotations mark, because I feel like healing is a journey that we will always be on. But a lot of people feel like they have to heal themselves before they get into a relationship. And in my experience, and also as a couples therapist, I've seen the most breakthroughs and the most healing happening in relationships, right? Because we were put in this world to be in relationships, in relationships not only with other people, but also with ourselves.
I love that. And, I think I just want to kind of unpack a little bit of what you were talking about, because one of the things that you said was actually your family, your whole culture was like, that's a bad decision.
Right.
The judgment, and I know that you wouldn't have been the only one, and you probably won't be
Mhm.
the only one who's been like, well, this thing happened and now you've had a bad judgment. It doesn't have to be just a child
Yeah.
that you got pregnant. It could be anything, and people judging.
Yeah.
And so, what made you actually feel like I am doing this? Like, whether anyone likes it or not, whether this man is in or not, I'm doing this. What was it that got you to that point? Because I'm super interested in the whole thing about self-worth, and you touch a little bit about upon that as well. And was it like that, or was it something that you just had this gut instinct to say, this baby is mine and I'll keep it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. For me, I think it was decisiveness. So I've always, in my personality, I've always been like a decisive person, and a person who takes control. Like, I'm proactive. I initiate things. I've been a leader since I've been little, right? So I've always been the one doing the thing. And for me, in that moment, I think that life brought me right back to, like, telling myself that this is not as hard as I thought it would be. That I can create a different story, a different narrative about what a young person looks like having a child. so many people, oh, I'm getting emotional. That was a great question. So many people put on yourself their own belief systems and their views and their morals without thinking the way that they're damaging that other person, right? Because you're projecting onto me how you feel. You're projecting onto me what your beliefs are. And I get so emotional about it because, we're walking through the world and at times just being so hurtful and so judgmental and not empathetic towards other people's lives. And we feel this rightfulness to tell people how to live their lives or not live it, right? So for me, I feel that at that point at 18, I don't know if it was the baby, I don't know if it was like this just God-given desire or inspiration within, that I felt like, yeah, no, I can do this. Like I can do this and I can do it for me and I can do it for all of the other, women at times that feel so stuck. And even when they're in their 20s or 30s, knowing that if an 18-year-old was able to figure it out and think the best of the situation, I think that that can help someone else feel the same and feel like they're not alone. So for me, it was a inner inspiration of knowing that I can trust myself and doing what I can do. And also the reality of things is that I also felt that I had community, that I had people that I can also rely on. So I was privileged in that sense as well. Is that even though I knew that, well, maybe they can get upset or maybe they can have their own thing, they will still support me. So I think that underneath it all, there was that knowing that I'm not going to be doing this alone, but also I didn't expect to do it alone. I think that the mindset that I went into it was, this is happening for me, and whatever's going to come out of it is meant to come out of it. So like when I apply that mindset into everything I do, everything that happens, so to this day my nervous system responds better to that, because it's better to hear that for me than to think that something's happening to me. I'm not a victim, right? So like I always say, like, I'm not a victim, I am empowered and I make my own choices. So with all of that being said, Janet, part of the reason I think it was that internal inspiration and also wanting to set an example, a different example, to my family, and showing them that, yeah, no, I'm not leaving school. I'm still going to graduate. I'm still going to, now if I had a if I had a motivation before to do it, now this is even more of a motivation to do it. And thankfully I graduated on time. Everything happened in the time, in divine time, I would say, in the same way that it would have kind of happened if I would have not been pregnant.
Wow, that is so powerful to actually know that, because you mentioned a few times that it's not just about you doing it for you. Yeah, things happen, but being able to own it and go, okay, this thing has happened.
Right.
It doesn't define me. It
Right.
doesn't make me less than. It doesn't make me anything.
Yeah.
Apart from
Yes.
whatever I choose to be, whoever I choose to be, and the fact that you said, excuse me, the fact that you actually said, if I can do this, I can show other people how to do this. I can show other women out there who might be going through something similar. I can also demonstrate to my family, to my peers, the people around me, that this can happen.
Mhm.
Like we can be outside of this norm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that is super inspirational. Like, and the fact that you actually did it and graduated on time and everything.
Yes. Yes. And again, right? Like, I cannot take this win by myself, because absolutely I had a village, with me. My parents, my husband's parents, friends were supporting me so much. Um, Family, I mean, overall, just amazing support systems that I would have probably, it would have been way more difficult, if I didn't have that support. But it all started with me, right? It started with my mindset, it started with my decisions, it started with my choices. And I hold myself very accountable to that always, right? To like the choices that I'm making, the decisions that I'm making, and the things that I'm thinking. My situation was a pregnancy, but your situation can be something else. Your situation can be you lost a job. Your situation can be you feel like you chose the wrong career path. Your situation can be that you think that you chose the wrong person to be with right now. Like your situation can be different, right? But the experience and the mindset can be the same, meaning that I'm not special. Well, I am special. Let's get that straight. Okay, I am very special. But meaning like I'm not special in that I'm the only one who would be able to achieve this or do this. Like anyone can, you can. It's just about what are the thoughts that I'm having, what are the meanings that I'm giving to the situation and this event that is happening or has happened in my life, and how is it keeping me stuck, right? I think that we're so afraid at times to identify the ways that we being kept stuck, and it's important because the narrative and the meaning that we're giving to these events is what keeps us doing and repeating the same cycles over and over again. So I just knew that, okay, well, yes, this is a similar experience that I've seen, right? Me getting pregnant was a similar experience to me seeing other younger people in my family and just friends getting pregnant and them making different choices as to how to continue to live their lives. I knew that I wanted different and I wanted to make different choices as well. So it's all about the choices that we're making, the mindset that we're going into situations with, and how we're carrying ourselves after that.
I love that, and that's like super powerful. As if everyone who's watching this replay, whatever, like please do pause this, caption this, like all of like because that is absolute gold to be able to become aware, so aware of our minds. What are we thinking? What are we? How is it affecting us? What's happening in here? What are we saying to ourselves? What is going on in here? To then kind of project it out in a way that's actually powerful and empowering for us all.
Yes.
Amazing. I love that. So after that situation, and I'm just going to call it a situation. So after that, um, how do you feel like that has propelled you forward to
Mhm.
become who you are now and where you are now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So,
That was a big challenging situation that
right.
you were in. So how is it? How do you think it's actually helping you right
Yeah. So I'll start by saying that I felt because I had a nephew when I was younger. So I was maybe 8, 9 when he was born, and I was basically his mom. Again, I've been a little grown up since early on. Okay, so I already had this motherly instincts, right? However, when I became a mom myself, the way that I was able to have more grace for my own mom was absolutely a different way. You know, like I felt like I went from a teenager, even though I was still a teenager at 18, 19. I feel like I gained so much more awareness about the difficulties that we go through as just being a parent, right?
now?
And it really supported me and having a clear definition about the type of mom that I wanted to be, about the type of person that I now wanted to become, right? So having my son at an early age really provided me with a different perspective to continue to go after what I wanted, but in a more mindful way, meaning that I'm not now just like making choices just to make choices. Now I'm making informed decisions based on the choices that I have available to me, right? So I think I became, not I think, I know I became way more mindful. Now I wasn't only thinking about myself. And as we know, right, like when you're 18, 19, 20, like you're still in your own world, right? You're doing the things that you want to do for you. In that moment, after me having that my child, it was not only now thinking about me but also thinking about this child that I want to give everything to, and of course now who my partner, right? My husband now. So it helped me to grow up a little bit quicker for sure. And I appreciate that because I've always loved, having conversations with older people anyway, so it was my jam anyway, growing up a little quicker.
Yeah, and I think like when you're actually able to think bigger than yourself
Yeah.
anyway, it kind of helps you see like a bigger picture
Yes.
and not
Yes.
just have to consider it's just me and me and me, because otherwise we just kind of go down this route. And then there
Yeah.
seems to be no other opportunities and no other way out when we do that. And it's a way that we actually keep ourselves stuck.
Right, right. So for me, it was really just being into wanting to learn more about, of course, myself, wanting to have a clear understanding about what do I want to do, how do I want to spend my time, how I want to show up for my kids, how do I want to show up for me? Because the main thing also that I didn't want to happen was that now that a child is in our picture in our relationship, that now we're going to forget about us as individuals and also as a relationship together, right? So one thing that I feel like my husband and I have done such an amazing job in is maintaining our connection, right? Separately from our kids, despite, whatever may come up. So I think that is so important because oftentimes, again, we lose ourselves to either the relationship with our children, the relationship that we have with other people, right? Like our partners. So also, like, having that clarity about how we want to show up in our marriage, how we want to show up as parents, how we want to show up for ourselves, is important because we get burnt out from anything.
And do you think part of the fear that you initially had when you actually found out, okay, I'm pregnant, that
Mhm.
do you think that actually helped you become more um like a almost like a better parent and a better partner and a better
Mhm.
you in that
Yeah.
way?
Yeah, it's a great question. The fear that I had, I think it provided me with more clarity about how then I could show up, right? Because the fears that I had really was, what if it doesn't work, right? Like, I just met this person. What if he doesn't want to be in it? What if the challenges that I saw my mom face with my father repeat in my relationship with this person? So like it was a lot of fears about things that I have no control over either, because I haven't lived it yet, Kiara. So how are you going to know, right? So at that time, I remember just having a great support system to have these conversations with. Like, I remember having these conversations with my friends. And then it got to the point where I had the conversation with him, right? To kind of share, like, this is what I'm afraid of. These are the things that absolutely cannot happen in our relationship. These are my deal breakers. So, what are yours? And if we can both agree, I think that we can have something good here. So it was more about, me giving myself clarity first, work through my own fears. And it's funny because, again, I wasn't a therapist yet. I was a teenager. I was 18, but I had a lot of self awareness in the sense of just, okay, something happens. What is it? What's it costing you? What are you feeling, and why are you feeling that way? So like I've always been in that type of world, maybe because of all of the books that I've always read growing up. Um, and also journaling. I used to journal a lot, by the way, as well when I was younger. So I think that that gave me a lot of language and a lot of ways to process my thoughts and emotions. But the fear just gave me a time to stop and get clarity and be clear about who I wanted to become. So if your question was, did fear allow you to actually have, show up better as a wife and as a mom? I would say absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Fear was really like, I always tell this to my clients, you have to make fear your best friend, because fear is
mm,
going to be here with you. And we're going to either let it stop us or let us fuel us. You choose, right? So I choose for it to be my fuel, right? So this way I can get clarity, I can work through it, and I can get to where I need to be, you know?
that's super amazing, and it's something that it's so different to what a lot of people say in society, right? You kind of want to run away from your fears. You're scared of something, like, go away from it because it's not safe.
Right.
Whereas actually fear, as you mentioned, can actually, if we pause,
Hmm.
assess, okay, what's going on, what's happening, then we can get more clarity on the situation. And I love how you actually turn from fear into fuel so that you can actually change it into, who do I want to become?
Right.
Like, that is so powerful. And the way that you're able to then go out and have those conversations. Okay, set the boundaries up front and go, right, this is not going to happen if these are my deal
Yep.
breaks.
Yes. And sometimes we are not, you know, open to having those tough conversations, or what we may call a challenging or difficult conversation, but that's because we're not clear ourselves about what it is that we want, right? We're not clear ourselves about what are the boundaries that we want to set. You know, we're not clear ourselves about what are the mixed emotions that we're feeling, right? So because we're not clear, the lack of clarity doesn't allow us to show up vulnerably or authentically to other people, and yet alone to ourselves too, right? Because we would think that, well, I'm not, you know, authentic with other people or transparent with other people, but I am with myself. I would challenge you on that, right? Because the reality is that, you know, the world is a mirror of who we are. So if I have a challenging time at times being vulnerable with other people, perhaps there's also a challenge in me showing up vulnerably with my own self and acknowledging some of these thoughts and emotions that I may be feeling, right? Because it's scary. If it is scary, right? Like, let's not take that away from it, right? Like, it's scary to acknowledge these thoughts and emotions, because I think that the worst fear is that we may not be able to control it, right? But the reality is that you're in control. You're in control of your emotions, of your thoughts. You're in control of so much more than what you think. And as you begin to control your emotions and your thoughts, you will be then controlling your life and creating it the way that you want it to be.
Yes. Oh, there's so many gems in this thing. Wow, it's so amazing. I feel like, oh, I just got so much knowledge and so many more insights. And a lot of reminders as well. Is, you know, we always have to keep reminding ourselves of things. We might know it already, but always having new reminders and every conversation. So, before we close, I would love to kind of ask you if there was a piece of advice that you can give to the audience who might be facing something similar like you did. It doesn't necessarily have to be the pregnancy, but it might be something just so unexpected. What would that be?
Oh, that's a great one. I would say take time to pause. Take time to literally pause. Um, take time to breathe. Like, literally breathe, right? Like, taking deep breaths is taken for granted, for me included. But the way that this allows you to regulate your nervous system and regulate just the way that you feel physiologically is amazing. Once you take that deep breath, I'm literally walking you through the steps. Once you take those deep breaths, allow yourself to just write down what is it about the situation that you feel is difficult or is unfair, or is whatever it is that you may be feeling, right? Put it all out on paper. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, your feelings are valid, right? Like, it is okay to feel what you feel. It's just not okay to stay in that feeling, right? So we want to acknowledge the feeling, whether that is guilt, depression, sadness, anger, whatever that is, because of the situation and event. And then we want to I always ask this question. I always ask myself this question: what are reasons that this may be happening for me?
Mm.
How is this going to shift my life? How is this going to change my life for the better? How is this situation that's happening for me right now going to change my life for the better? The thing is that we are wired to always think about the worst. Oh, the worst case scenario. That's when we typically always go to. So I'm going to challenge you. So even if you go there, acknowledge it and be like, okay, I can see this is the worst case scenario for me. Write it out on a piece of paper. We can always come back to this. But I want you to do the other exercise so you can see how small or little, how maybe like even not relevant anymore that worst case scenario may look like for you, because you've considered a different picture now. And if you live up to that new version of what you're saying, that this is happening for me, so because it's happening for me, I have all of these reasons as to why it's happening for me, and you live up to that and you read that all the time, trust me and believe me, that's how it's going to begin to feel for you, and how it's really going to be for you.
Amazing. And naturally, the step by step is that's what helped you get out of your situation and actually turn all of those fears into healthy relationships, into communication, into the person that you are now, even including that relationship with yourself.
The
So
relationship itself is the most important one. Like the relationship that you build with you is the foundation of every other relationship that you will have in the world, right? Because how you treat yourself, you will allow other people to treat you that way, right?
mm,
So like I know like people be laughing, but I'm like I don't allow anybody to talk crazy to me. Like no one can like it just doesn't happen. Why? Because I honor myself and I treat myself with love and respect. So I expect the same from other people. So I want you to also like challenge yourselves and explore how do I treat myself, you know? And if other people I feel mistreated by other people, then how can I maybe explore how I may treat myself in those same ways? Okay, I'll stop because I'll keep going, you guys. I'll keep going.
she's got a lot more in her bag. Well, and with that, make sure you connect with Kiara on her Instagram or check out her website. It's all here in the link. So Kiara, what just very quickly then, what's the next step? Like what's happening in your world? What are you working on right now, or something that you want to share with the audience?
Yes, this is such a great question. Thank you for asking. So, well, we have Knew You Psychotherapy is my mental health group practice. We serve clients in New York State and also in Florida. We actually have a group that's coming up in December. It's really supporting women who have been in narcissistic relationships. So we're going to be having a 6-month closed group addressing that and having a space for these women to be able to speak up and be able to process their emotions and thoughts. So if that's something that you feel that would work for you, please reach out and we'll be able to welcome you in. And in addition to that, well, speaking. That's what's going to be happening a lot more of me going on speaking engagements and continuing to do the amazing work that serves you and serves the people that are looking to, receive self-awareness and personal growth.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. We really had an incredible conversation with you. And thank you so much for everyone, whether you're live or actually, you're listening to this and recording. Thank you for giving us your time. And we hope that this conversation has been inspirational to you. Make sure you check out Kiara's website and her Instagram for more amazing and empowering and nuggets. Okay? See you all again next time. Thank you.